Hello, my dear children. Namaste and welcome to session 2 of our class 9 CBSE chapter Tissues. This is Ambika, your biology master teacher, right here on this amazing platform of Vedantu. Okay, guys, so I really hope all of you are staying in good health, staying safe, and following all the necessary precautions which the Ministry of Health and every other medical expert in the entire world has been advising us constantly this year, because it's super important that at this point of time we take care of ourselves and we take care of our family members also, and in effect it will add to taking care of our society as well. Okay, so let's move on. Remember this very important chapter, tissues. We just started talking about plant tissues in the last session, and we've spoken about one very important type of plant tissues, which was meristematic tissues. Today we shall continue with our talk on plant tissues, but not meristematic tissues, because we're done with that already. We'll rather move on to the next type. But before that, as always, let's start with something very positive. Forget the mistake and remember the lesson. Okay, so why is this important, and what is the difference between forgetting the mistake and remembering the lesson? Well, there is a difference if you think about it. Every single mistake that we humans commit is trying to tell us something, is trying to teach us something. As long as we are able to look at it with an open mind and realize and accept that, okay, I am a human being, I'm prone to committing mistakes, it's all right. But then what did I learn from that? What is it that I will never ever repeat again? What is it? What is the lesson that I have learned from this mistake, so that now I'm going to be evolving into a better person? It could be something very small, very simple, or it could be something big. But let's always remember that we must learn to forget our mistakes and keep moving on, but always with the right kind of attitude, by remembering the lessons and becoming a better person. Okay, so our homework question. What will happen to a tree if it does not develop cambium at all? So I have an answer from Sachin, among many other answers that I got. Sachin has actually written it this way. If a tree doesn't develop cambium, then its trunk, it has to be trunk, I guess, will be tender and can break easily, of course. And also cambium is present between xylem and phloem, because of which if a tree does not develop cambium, then the xylem and phloem will not function properly, because they are the vascular tissues. And what are all of them? We will understand in more detail in today's session. Okay. And also the cambium is responsible for increase in girth of a tree, and therefore if the cambium is not present, the plant will not undergo secondary growth completely. Okay. Thank you very much, Sachin. Looks like you have read up a lot about xylem, phloem, and secondary growth. Actually, this is one reason why we keep giving you homework questions. Although, yes, I agree that I can't physically, come and have a look at your notebooks. Last year, I remember there were a couple of children, there were a handful of children who used to write answers like in their notebooks, take a picture of it, like click a picture of it on their mobile phone, and they would send it to me on email. That would add so much of a personal touch, and I have even taken snips of them and displayed them in some of my sessions also. Not that this is bad, of course, I'm just saying because that came to my mind. Thank you very much, Sachin, for having done such a wonderful job of giving a descriptive answer, and everyone else who's given me a proper answer to this question. Okay, so as I said, let's continue with plant tissues and learn specifically about permanent tissues. Now let's recall, to start off, that meristematic tissues are those which keep growing indefinitely, or rather they just have the ability to keep growing continuously. This is why we say they are those tissues which are found at the root tips and shoot tips of plants, growing tips as we generally call them. But what happens is, as a plant grows and matures, some of these meristematic tissues, they suddenly like becoming more serious about life. They are like, okay, enough of fun and games. We've divided enough and had enough of fun. Let's now get into some serious job and get settled down in life. This is how they decide to take up a permanent role. What is that role? Well, hold on for a bit before we move on to that aspect, because that is going to be forming the core of today's session. Okay, but then just understand this much, that when they get that seriousness, they lose the ability to divide, they take up a specific role, and they form what we call permanent tissues. So it's the meristematic tissues themselves that develop into permanent tissues, but then not all of them do. Some of them develop into permanent tissues. Okay, so for your understanding, for your better understanding, because we talk about a lot of different types of plant tissues, let's have a quick look at this chart before proceeding. Plant tissues can either be meristematic or they can be permanent. Meristematic, as we know, are those tissues which have the ability to constantly divide. They can either be apical, intercalary, or lateral, depending upon their location in the plant body. What about permanent tissues? This is what we are going to be discussing in today's session. Let me use the pen so that it's easier for me to mark things out. So this portion, this is all that we have done in the previous class. Permanent tissues are classified further based on different criteria. The first basic classification of permanent tissues into simple and complex, or ground and vascular, but simple and complex makes more sense, and it is more commonly used also. Simple permanent tissues and complex permanent tissues are two categories of permanent tissues which we categorize, or rather which we describe based on the types of cells which make them up. Simply put, simple permanent tissues, they are literally very simple because they are made up of just one type of cells. Rather, complex permanent tissues, like the name tells you, they are literally a very complex type of tissue. Complex permanent tissue because they are made up of more than one type of cells, two or more than two types of cells, which make up complex permanent tissues. Now, simple permanent tissue or ground tissue are further subdivided based on their functions and based on where they are found and all of that as Parenchyma, Chlorenchyma, and Sclerenchyma. Rather, complex permanent tissue, on the contrary, are classified as xylem and phloem. They are also called vascular tissues because xylem and phloem, if you remember that homework answer, are the types of tissues which help in performing the role of the circulatory system in the plant body. Okay, we'll understand more about that, so don't break your head too much about it. But before we get started with more details about the permanent tissue types, let's quickly try and answer a couple of questions. Here is the first one. Xylem and phloem are an example of dash. Simple ground tissue, complex permanent tissue, intercalary meristematic tissue, simple parenchyma. What do you think? Yes, and your time is up. The answer is complex permanent tissue. Yes, Chlorenchyma is another name of, Chlorenchyma is an example of simple permanent tissue, complex permanent tissue, intercalary meristematic tissue, or simple parenchyma. What do you think? Well, your time is up. It is a very good example of simple permanent tissue because it's made up of just one type of cells. And very, very well done if you have got both of these correctly. Even if you have not to worry. We have a couple of quizzes more coming up after talking about more details. Okay, but before that, let's talk about something that will really, really benefit you all. You and your friends, especially in the year 2020, because the phase of education has completely changed thanks to the COVID pandemic. The student community is among the worst affected groups in the entire world. But thanks to technology, that shouldn't be a problem. Even then, being in a country like India, wherein we are so used to being so social, meeting our teachers on a daily basis, meeting our classmates on a daily basis, going for combined study sessions together, and then having tea breaks together, all of these, we actually end up missing all that a lot. So, after multiple discussions with many of our students, this is the list of the most common problems that we heard from most of our children. In the sense, you may have a lot of doubts which are not answered properly because you don't get to meet your teachers on a daily basis. Maybe not access to proper notes because not everyone is good in making notes, and you may not know how to proceed, how to get it checked by someone else, whether or not you're doing it in the right manner, and so on. So many questions in your mind, perhaps. Tests and assignments, maybe not happening systematically because that atmosphere itself has changed completely. Competitive exam preparation becomes a huge challenge again. Choice of schedule, yes, of course. Online education, choice of schedule especially in your school online education, it becomes a problem, and it becomes even more of a problem when there are siblings in the same house trying to manage time by sharing the same set of gadgets. So many different issues that come up. Choice of language, Hindi, English, or a mix of Hindi and English, or your other local languages and so on. But not to worry at all, because at Vedantu, we completely understand, and we have solved all of these problems for you, in addition to giving you a lot of bonuses like unlimited live classes, plenty of micro courses and crash courses, performance reports, personalized attention, and whatnot, because we are going to be having every session with the master teacher and class teachers to together monitor your progress. Okay, so what do you do to understand more about it? Just visit the link which is given in the description box below, children, and the coupon code which you can apply to avail the best offers that we have out there is AMBPRO. Okay, this is my code which you can use to avail the best benefits that we have out there. So let me just quickly guide you like within less than 2 minutes. First, when you click on the link, you will get to choose your grade. So for you, I'm going to be assuming it's going to be class 9, okay, grade 9, and select target. For you, it's going to be CBSE 2021. Your target exam which you're aiming at, CBSE class 9 2021. Okay, check out all the details. I've told you several of them, but what else is included in Vedantu Pro? Vedantu Pro is the name we give to that set of courses. All the bonus features are mentioned here. Then you get to click on the button which says Get Subscription. So we have a 1 month, 3 months, and a 6 months plan. The details of all of which are given here for you. For the 1 month of Vedantu Pro subscription, currently the price without any discount coupons applied to them is 2,699. But then apply the coupon code AMBPRO to fetch you a discount and reduce your amount payable to 2,159.2. This means for 1 full month, you're getting unlimited access to all of these features that I said for all your major subjects. Okay. Then for 3 months, the normal price is 6,999 before application of the coupon code, but apply the code AMBPRO and it will reduce it to 5,599.2. And then the 6 months plan, which means for the next 6 months, for the rest of your academic year, 2020-2021, right? Until the month of March, basically, you can be completely tension-free, leave everything to Vedantu, and just be at peace. So this would cost you 11,499. This is 6 months for unlimited access to all of the features I said for all of your major subjects. Okay, I personally think this is what is more economical, but then completely your choice. It's your job to work out and decide what is budget friendly for you, and at the same time what you require. But apply the same coupon code AMBPRO to reduce your amount payable to 9,199.2. Okay, children, so being a parent, being a teacher myself, I would suggest whatever this is, whatever you choose, definitely give it a try, at least at some point of time or the other, before it gets too late, because certainly you will see the difference. Just in case you're confused about whether this is reasonably priced or not, all you have to do is a very, very simple exercise. Divide the total amount payable, be it a 6 months, 3 months, or 1 month plan you're looking at. Whatever the amount payable is going to be, divide that by the number of sessions, the total number of sessions that you will get to avail through that subscription. This will give you the per session cost. Trust me, this is going to be one of the most reasonably priced courses out there that you will find in our country. Okay, so please think about it, and it's completely your choice. So let's get back to our lesson, which is about permanent tissue. I told you it's of 2 types, simple or complex. Simple made up of just 1 type of tissue, complex made up of more than 1 type of tissues. The simple permanent tissue is further categorized into 3: Parenchyma, Chlorenchyma, Sclerenchyma. Okay, so this is PCH. S. Okay? Parenchyma, Chlorenchyma, Sclerenchyma. If there is any mnemonic that comes to your mind, please do type them in the comment section below. I would definitely like to have a look at it. One of my students, okay, one of my regular class 9 students, as in one of my students who attends most of my sessions regularly, he actually recited in one of our classes tissue poem, okay, which he had composed, a poem or a rhyme, as you can call it, which is based on tissues, which will help you remember this a lot. And he actually told me he would be mailing it. His name is Naman. Naman, in case you're watching this session, let me just remind you that you have not sent me that poem yet, okay? So please do send it to me so that I can share it with everyone else, so that it'll benefit everyone else. And in case even other children out there, even if you create something interesting like that, please do feel free to share it in the comment section here. We would love to have a look at it, and everyone can benefit from that as well. Now, parenchyma, chlorenchyma, and sclerenchyma have different functions. Let's look at each of them. This is what parenchyma looks like. As you can see, the transverse section of parenchyma tissues looks like this, and the longitudinal section looks like this. Okay, they've got thin, flexible walls, as you can see, very, very thin cell walls. They are not thick at all. Cell walls are very, very thin, and there is plenty of air space that you would see, plenty of space between adjacent cells that you would see. They are not tightly packed, as you can see very well in this picture. They carry out most of the metabolic functions in plants, including even photosynthesis, and even in helping aquatic plants float on the surface of water. A lot of such sub-functions for parenchyma. Then another function they have is storage and release of starch, lipids, and water. Okay, as and when required. Longitudinal section, you can see that just like any other cell, it's got the cytoplasm, nucleus. This is the portion we call the middle lamella, the chloroplast, vacuole, intercellular spaces, primary cell wall. Not at all complex. It's very, very simple parenchyma. Okay. Now, coming to one of the subtypes of parenchyma, which is chlorenchyma. This is a type of parenchyma that contains chlorophyll and performs photosynthesis. Chlorenchyma, why do you think that name is there? It comes from this thing, chlorophyll. Chlorenchyma, and because of the presence of chlorophyll, it has the ability to perform photosynthesis. This is what we call chlorenchyma. And then Aranchyma, you know what, looking at this picture, in one of my previous sessions, when I was teaching this concept, I had a similar image in front of me, and it reminded me of the bubbly chocolate. Like, there are some imported chocolates, and I think even in India now we have that bubbly, one of the dairy milk versions, silk versions has it. It looks something like that, right? Looks a lot airy with a lot of air-filled spaces there. So you would find this, we call it Aranchyma, as the name indicates, aren, fully aerated, right? Plenty of air spaces. They've got large air cavities, which provide aquatic plants with the much needed buoyancy. It helps them float. Right, so this is what Aranchyma is. If you have ever observed aquatic plants floating, and if you have ever got a chance to touch them, you would feel that it's hollow inside. Many of the leaves, which appear rounded in shape, they would be hollow inside, like a cup. Very, very beautiful to watch that. It is Aranchyma which makes up much of such plant tissues. Okay, now coming to Chlorenchyma. So Parenchyma is done, one of the most simplest types of permanent tissue. Now coming to Chlorenchyma, what is the difference you see? When you just look at the transverse sections diagram, well, I will make it easier for you. Parenchyma would look something like this, okay? If at all you had to draw parenchyma also, I think this would help you. Parenchyma, something like this, okay? Very, very thin-walled and very, very simply placed next to each other, with plenty of intercellular spaces also. But Chlorenchyma, if you observe, it's got thickenings at corners. So just thicken up these corners which are there. There is no intercellular spaces that you would find. There is a lot of thickening which you find between adjacent cells. Okay, this is what Chlorenchyma is. Wall thickenings, look at that. It's marked there so beautifully. Nucleus, vacuole, cell wall. Cell wall is what we see unevenly thickened as compared to parenchyma. That's what we mean by varying thickness, unevenly thickened, especially thickened at corners. And What are they there for? They are actually rigid enough to provide support, yet it's not the kind of solid support that a huge tree's trunk would provide. It's rather the kind of support that the stem of a plant, the stem would provide a plant, which means it's rigid enough to provide support, yet flexible enough to allow growth. And because of which the stem of a plant doesn't easily break when you try to bend it. Okay, because it has a certain amount of flexibility, and that flexibility is because of this type of permanent tissue, which is called Chlorenchyma. You find them most commonly in younger plants, because in older plants usually it gets replaced by more complex and thicker cell walled thicker walled cells. Okay, so this is what you would find very commonly in younger plants, and this is roughly how you would find it in the longitudinal section as well. The end wall, look at that, the primary cell wall thickened at corners. This is the highlight here. Okay, whereas parenchyma did not have anything like that. Okay, now coming to Sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma is unique in the sense that the cells of Sclerenchyma are dead cells. Okay, and this is what makes plants, especially older plants, hard and stiff. You would find that the cell walls of Sclerenchyma cells are very, very thick. The walls are highly thickened with lignin, which is a substance found in thickening of the cell walls. Okay, where do you find them? You find them most commonly in stems, especially older stems, around vascular bundles, which are xylem and phloem. You will understand that more within the next few minutes. Then you would also find them in the veins of leaves and in the hard covering of seeds and nuts, like the coconut husk, right? It's made up of Sclerenchyma, and this is what gives it its hardness. The narrow lumen that it has, the cell wall, which is a lot thicker. So this is what Sclerenchyma looks like. Remember, parenchyma, Chlorenchyma, Sclerenchyma, PCS. Okay, P and C made up of living cells, Sclerenchyma made up of dead cells. P having plenty of air spaces, Chlorenchyma or C having thickenings at corners, and S or Sclerenchyma having highly thickened lignified cell walls. Okay, so I think now it's time for another quick check. We are not done yet, okay? We are yet to understand the complex permanent tissue. Among the following statements, which one is correct? Phloem transports food in a single direction. Oops, wait. I think the order has been messed up. Okay, I will just do a little bit of adjustment and move these slides to the end. I somehow forgot to, I did not notice this when I reviewed the slides. Okay, not a problem. Okay, I'll continue from this slide. Okay, but before we proceed, I think it's time for another very, very quick quiz time. So your first question is here. Which of the following is not a simple permanent tissue? Parenchyma, Chlorenchyma, Sclerenchyma, Xylem. Yes. Your time ends in 3, 2, 1 and go. The answer is Xylem. Xylem is a complex permanent tissue. Now, dash is a type of parenchyma common among the aquatic plants and having air cavities. Chlorenchyma, Chlorenchyma, Aranchyma, none of these. Okay, in case you've forgotten, let me give you that hint. Air cavities is mentioned in the question if you notice. Yes, that has to be your hint. Air cavities. Can't give you a better clue. Your time is up. The answer is Aranchyma. Very, very well done if you have got both of these correctly. And with that, let's proceed further into permanent tissues, which is about complex permanent tissues. Complex permanent tissue is of two types, xylem, phloem. Remember why we call them complex in the first place? Because they are made up of more than one type of cells. If you think about simple permanent tissue, which we have just discussed, every simple permanent tissue type, whether it's parenchyma, chlorenchyma, or sclerenchyma, each of them was made up of only one type of cells, right? Whereas here, we would find that more than one type makes up the tissue. Let's see how this works. Made of more than one type of cells, and this is how you would see xylem and phloem when you look at the longitudinal section. Okay, so you would find that the outermost layer of a plant body, we call it the epidermis. Inside that, all the tissues you find inside that, like this region, you basically call it the cortex, and the inner part, the innermost portion of it, you call it the pith. And this part is called the cambium. We've understood what the cambium is when we discussed meristematic tissue itself. Where do you find the cambium actually? You would find it between xylem and phloem. So this is where we are going to be mentioning this in detail, and hence we have zoomed out this image and shown it to you. Sorry, zoomed into this image and shown it to you. Xylem on this side, phloem on the other side, cambium forming layers between xylem and phloem. Now I think the homework question which we read Sachin's answer might make better sense to us, right? Because cambium, if it's not even present in a plant, secondary growth fails, which means it fails to grow further and further. Xylem and phloem don't function well, and so on, right? Okay, so xylem and phloem, we call them vascular or conductive tissues, and they help in the transport of substances across the plant body. Just like the heart, the blood vessels and the blood function in our case, xylem and phloem perform some kind of a similar function in a plant body. But do they have blood? No. Do they have a heart? Not at all. Then how does it happen? What is the circulatory fluid in the plant body? It's very, very simple. It's just water, which means water carries whatever the plant needs from one part of the body to another. And of course, we know that the kitchen of a plant body is the leaves. So because food is prepared in the leaves, photosynthesis occurs in the leaves, that food which is prepared is not just for the animal's benefit, it's also for that particular plant body's benefit, right? So from the leaf, to transport it to different parts of the plant body, it needs the help of these tissues. But is it xylem or phloem or both of them? We'll understand that right now. Let's talk about xylem first. Xylem is mostly made up of dead cells with thick walls, made of dead cells mostly. And what you see in this picture here are the four major elements that make up xylem. We call them xylem fibers, xylem parenchyma, xylem vessels, and tracheids. Tracheids and vessels, as we commonly call them together. Okay, they are said to be the best of friends. TV, I like to call it TV, tracheids and vessels. Okay, so fibers and parenchyma also, if you want to include it in some kind of a mnemonic, please feel free to do that. Tracheids and vessels, what do? They help in transporting water and minerals vertically, that is from below to the upper parts of the plant. Okay. Then what does the parenchyma do? Parenchyma cells of xylem, what do? Xylem parenchyma helps in storing food and helps in sideways conduction of water. This is about tracheids, vessels, and parenchyma. What about fibers? Just as the name indicates, fibers are mainly supportive in function. Okay, so let's remember that xylem always transports water. It's responsible for transporting water from the roots to the upper parts of the plant body. Just like how a straw would carry when you suck a juice or water from some kind of a liquid from a tall tumbler or from a tall bottle using a straw, using a drinking straw, it flows it moves in the upward direction, right? Xylem does something similar to that, something which is exactly like that, actually speaking, because it moves only in the upward direction, only in one direction. And what are the elements which make up xylem? Xylem parenchyma, xylem fibers, tracheids, and vessels. Okay, this is about xylem. And then coming to phloem, wherein again, just like xylem, it's got different elements which make it up. The sieve tubes, the companion cells, okay, sieve tubes and companion cells together, we call them phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Just like xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers, here we have phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers, sieve tubes and companion cells. So except for phloem fibers, all other phloem cells are living cells, whereas xylem was almost entirely made up of dead cells. Okay, this is about phloem. What do you see here? End wall. This is actually a plate-like structure which acts as a partition between adjacent cells in a phloem tissue. Okay, whereas in xylem you don't find something called the end wall. Okay, so let's now compare xylem and phloem, because I think as far as your exams are concerned also, it's important to know this comparison. I remember in my 9th standard, this used to be one very, very exam favorite, highly exam favorite question. Okay, distinguish between xylem and phloem. I told you, xylem transports only water and minerals, that too from the roots to the upper parts of the body. Why do we say minerals? Minerals in the sense, the dissolved minerals which enter along with the water. From the soil, roots take it up, right? Water and minerals are hence mentioned together. Now in this case, phloem transports only organic molecules. Where from? I told you the kitchen of the plant is its leaves. From the leaves to the different parts of the plant's body, be it from the leaf to a fruit, be it from the leaf to a flower or a bud or whatever, any other, even to the roots, from the leaves to the roots, organic molecules have to be supplied, because the leaves are called the kitchen not for like any lame reason. It's for a very good reason, because they prepare a lot of these organic molecules through the process of photosynthesis. So the phloem, I want you to compare them to the lunchbox service, which you would find in Maharashtra, like cities of Bombay and many other major cities of India, wherein they do the job of transporting food from the prepared kitchen to the destination, right? Food delivery service, something like that. Okay, the phloem does exactly this. It carries food from its source, which is the leaf of the plant, to all the other parts of the plant which would need it, right? So obviously direction is going to be, unlike xylem, a two-way movement. Direction is a two-way movement, because leaves to roots also has to happen, and leaves to upper parts of the plant also has to happen. So it's a two-way movement, whereas xylem is only one-way movement, because you're comparing it to a straw, right? Then as you can see, structurally there are no end walls between adjacent cells in the xylem, whereas in this case there are end walls which we call sieve plates. Sieve plates, end walls between adjacent cells. Now in xylem, outer cells are not living. In phloem, cells are living, but still they need a lot of support. Okay, so these are the major differences between xylem and phloem. And it's very, very important that we remember their functions, whether they carry water, minerals, or whether they carry food or organic molecules, whether they are unidirectional or bidirectional in movement. All of these are extremely important to know. Okay, so now I think it's time to come to the last quiz of today. Among the following statements, which one is correct? Okay, phloem transports food in a single direction. Phloem is mostly made up of living cells. Companion cells are part of xylem. Xylem transports food from leaves to other parts of the plant. Yes, xylem, phloem. Which one is the straw? Which one is the lunchbox service? And what else? Yeah, and your time is up. The answer is B. Phloem is mostly made up of living cells, because here actually A, option A, if you look at it, it's actually xylem which transports food in a single direction, and here companion cells are part of phloem and not of xylem, because xylem includes xylem parenchyma, xylem fibers, tracheids and vessels, TV, television, if that makes it easier for you. Sieve tubes and companion cells are found in phloem. Then xylem transports food from leaves to other parts of the plant. No, it is actually phloem which transports food from leaves to other parts of the plant. Now, xylem and phloem are called complex permanent tissues because they are made up of dead cells, they do not grow, they are made up of more than one type of cells, or they perform complex functions. What do you think? Okay, and your time is up. The answer is because they are made up of more than one type of cells, unlike Parenchyma, Chlorenchyma, and Sclerenchyma. So, very, very well done, children. And now you know permanent tissues, all about simple and simple and complex permanent tissues. Simple divided into parenchyma, chlorenchyma, and sclerenchyma, and complex into xylem and phloem. Okay, so here is your homework question for the day. Can plants exchange gases through their stem? If yes, what helps them do that? We always talk about leaves which help in exchanging gases, right? Can it ever happen through the stem? And if so, what is the structure? What are the structures called? What are the structures called which helps them do that? Send me the answers either in the comment section or through email, but I would suggest put it in the comment section so that we don't miss it out at all. Okay, so that we can actually identify who gave it first. Remember, children, to visit the link given in the description box below about Vedantu Pro courses, because they will certainly help you complete your syllabus and help you in completing everything. It's a full package. Okay, so your coupon code that you can apply to avail the best offers right there is AMBPRO. Do remember to hit the like button now, children, if you have enjoyed this session, and please do share it with your class 9 CBSE friends as well, because this is a very, very important concept as far as your exams are concerned, and of course for competitive exams as well. And do remember to subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button right now to subscribe to our channel Vedantu 9th and 10th English, so that you don't miss out on any of the updates that we will be putting up on this amazing channel. Because it's not just your subjects. Of course, subjects are physics, chemistry, biology. You have maths and your English and social studies. Everything covered here. And ensure that you don't miss out on any of the updates that we put up on this. So the best way is to subscribe to the channel. And until we meet again in yet another interesting session, do remember to take care, stay happy and stay healthy. This is Ambika signing off. Bye-bye.